I've hogged out a little hole. I know you're probably tired of hearing me say hog out, but I went a little deep with it. You can see right there, I was trying to bury the servo as deep as I could without going through, and I'll just fiberglass over that. But I'm mounting a little servo right here. I'm going to run 2 little linkages back, and they'll work independently of each other and operate the ailerons. I've got the aileron drawn out on that side. This one I've got cut out. They're tiny. They're 3/4 of an inch by 6 inches. But anyway, I'm going to tape those on and get some linkages hooked up to that and try them out. Alright, I probably left out a few things to get to where I am right now. The rudder was glued on, just super glued on, hot glued on the foam because super glue will melt this foam. Super glued on to the top of the elevator. I've got the elevator hooked up. As you can see, the guitar string is working quite well. Got full ailerons. A lot of aileron travel. I wanted it to be really aerobatic. I want to try to squeeze a little bit more elevator out of it by setting my dual rates up. For right now, if I can get these wires out of the way, have you look down in there, you probably see the aileron linkages moving back and forth. Works really, really well. The motor's ready to go. It seems this motor's rated for about a 9x5 prop, but I've actually got a 6x4 on here right now, and it's got more than enough thrust for this little plane. Okay, couple things real quick. Like I said, I took that little chunk of foam off the front and I ended up making what I think is going to be the smallest scale fiberglass cowling in the world. Take some really thin fiberglass, like 1/2 ounce or 3/4 ounce. It's like silk. It's tiny. It's real thin. Cut that into little 1-inch strips about 2 or 3 inches long. Lay it over the top and take a brush and some polyacrylic. This will not melt the foam. It's water-based polyurethane acrylic mix. They sell it in clear, matte, and satin. It doesn't matter which one you buy because you're going to sand them down anyway. But anyway, take that polyacrylic just as it is, and after you lay the fiberglass over it, brush it on, and it'll adhere. Once it's dry, I left about 1/4 of an inch overlap to where it'll actually slide over the fuselage. Put some toothpicks in it, that way it could stand up and dry. But anyway, I've put 2 layers of fiberglass. Put 1 layer of fiberglass, let it dry for about 2 or 3 hours, recoat it with another layer, let it dry overnight. It's pretty stiff. It's still flexible, but it's lightweight also. Once you sand this down, you're not going to be able to sand all the fiberglass fiber holes and pattern out of it. You can keep coating it with polyacrylic and sand it and coat it and sand it, but that's going to take a day or two for it to dry completely, and you're still not going to get it perfect. A little trick I just learned: take your polyacrylic and put a little bit in a cup. Mix baby powder with it until you get a pancake batter like consistency. Now it smells like straight baby powder, but take a foam brush and just brush it over that surface. Now what it does is that the powder will settle into the fibers of the fiberglass, into the holes, and then what you're left with is you're putting essentially another coat of polyacrylic on top of it. But once the baby powder settles, once this is dry, you can sand it back down with some 220 or 320 grit sandpaper, and it will be such a glass finish. You'll be able to paint directly on top. You have to sand it after you do this, but it'll be a glass shiny finish. All the pores will be covered, and you'll have just an excellent looking cowl. You can see here I had the little, where I cut the dihedral in the wings, I had a line in there. You remember the line in the back from where I sliced that off to bury the servo. Take regular spackling that you buy at any commercial hardware store. Lightweight spackling works better. I bought the heavyweight or the heavy duty stuff here, but you can thin it with water, spackle it into the cracks and holes, and then once it's dry, it takes a couple hours it's dry to the touch in about 10 minutes, but it takes a couple hours for it to really harden. Take some 220 grit sandpaper and sand that back down, and all your lines will disappear. You'll have a nice smooth finish, because that fiberglass cloth is so thin that if you just tried to fiberglass over it, it just sinks down in those little lines and you're left with the line. So spackle it first. You can see here where the wings join the fuselage. I've just put it on there like caulk and run your finger down it, and it's really easy to sand afterwards. It sands down really, really fast and easy. It's like better than balsa wood. Once that's dry, I'll fiberglass the plane just like I did the cowl, and do the baby powder. When you sand the whole thing down after you've baby powdered it, it smells, your whole plane will smell just like baby powder. And there's a lot of dust. When you're sanding it, you're pretty much going to be covered with baby powder dust. So sand it outside. You'll smell really fresh, and so will your plane. But then you can just spray paint it with any kind of paint you want, enamel, lacquer, anything. Alright, here's a quick lesson on fiberglassing. Take some 1/2 ounce or 3/4 ounce cloth. This is 1/2 ounce right now because it's such a tiny plane. Just find a piece that fits somewhat, and you'll see that drapes over nicely. Just drape the cloth over it, leave the excess hanging over. This is a polyacrylic brush. It's specifically designed for the polyacrylic, but you can use any kind of brush for smaller areas. I use a tiny little soft bristled paint brush, but I don't know what's special about this brush. Probably just wanted to charge more for it, but anyway, just take this stuff straight and make sure you stir this really well. It looks like milk, but it dries gloss clear. And just take it and brush outward. If you brush too much, the fiberglass will move, so you don't want to trim it just yet. If you end up trimming, it'll stretch and move around. But anyway, just brush it toward the outside of the plane, every direction you go. Brush up to the edge, but don't brush anything past, because then you'll be getting on the fiberglass cloth that you're going to keep later. But anyway, you can really saturate this stuff. Really doesn't matter. When you get up to the edge, I use a pair of scissors because this stuff it's so thin it doesn't cut well, so you need a really sharp pair of scissors. Anyway, just cut along the edge. Leave yourself about a 1/2 inch overlap. That way when you get to the edge, you can just keep wetting and just fold it under. Do the bottom first, fold that under. When you get to the top, sand it, and then when you lay the top fiberglass on, you can fold it over to the bottom, and you'll get a nice leading edge just doubled over. Alright, here's the finished product. Painted the canopy. You can see there's just some lines. I tried to make it as P-51-ish as possible. I'm no painter, so you can kind of see my little fake engine up there, and lettering and whatnot. But I have flown it. As you can see, the canopy right there is busted up. I didn't have anyone to film when I maidened it. The maiden flight went well, then I flew it again, and when the second time I flew it, the aileron servo burned up or locked or froze. Whatever happened, I had no ailerons and I couldn't control it, and it went in pretty hard, and you could see it broke my wing and broke my prop, and the battery made that little dent in the canopy right there. It came through, and not all the way through, but it made a pretty good dent. But the problem is, now that I've got the aileron servo is way down there, I would have to cut the wing off, dig the servo out, refiberglass everything, and I know this flies. It flew really well. It's fast, man, it's fast. As soon as I hand launched it, it tried to go down, and I poured the coals to it, pulled up on it, and it had a lot more elevator than I thought it did. But it flew really well and really fast. I would imagine this thing with that tiny little motor was cooking along about 55, 60 mile an hour at least. But the problem is when you cut it to land it, it falls like a rock. The plane weighs too much to be this size. If you had some even smaller servos, smaller motor, smaller battery, the whole 9 yards, you could get away with a plane this size. It flies well as long as it's under power. As soon as you cut the power, it falls like a rock. We actually caught it on the maiden flight. I flew it in and just cut the power and caught it. And the second flight is when it hit the ground. But I don't think I'll be rebuilding it, because this was just a trial to see if it would work. And it did. It flew really well and fast. But you definitely need either wheels on it and land it on a concrete surface fast, or some extra reinforcements or something. I don't know. But anyway, that's my little P-51. Hope you build one just to try it. It doesn't cost that much, and I've still got the motor and servos and everything out of this one that I can build something else with.